There we go. Live to air.
Any questions, you're going to have to read them to me, Mike, before I can get my internet up.
Okay, cool. It should be broadcasting pretty shortly. There we go. There we go. Hang on. Whoa, live to air. All right, everything's going. Zach's had a few network issues, so Zach's on his phone right now. Hey, thanks for doing this, Zach. How you doing, y'all?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me, man.
No worries, man. No worries. So yeah, this is the first of my hangout deal. It's just a, you know, just a low key kind of conversation between two Satanists, and yeah, I mean, no specific direction for the conversation, just sort of chilling, and we'll see how it goes.
Right on, man. Sounds good. Looks like my internet's coming back up. So, but if it fails again, then I'm gonna jump back on the phone.
Okay, cool. And just one quick shout out that I've got. Thank you, Kat, for setting an alarm and getting up at 3:30 in the morning. You got to mute the YouTube page.
Yeah, working on that. Okay, how's that? Shitty.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Is it?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. No, you still got this. Your phone, maybe. You're still in here on your phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to hang on. Here, I'll just turn it on. There we go. Problem solved there.
All right. So you're a pretty prominent sort of satanic YouTuber out there, Zach. You know, do you want to give everyone sort of a bit of a rundown on where you've been and how you got onto the left-hand path and how you got started in doing all of this?
Sure. I kind of became disenchanted with religion in general. Started to move to, well, I was already acknowledging myself as an atheist by the time I was, say, 11 or 12. And I just started to think that maybe there's something a little bit more than just atheists, you know, or there might be a better philosophy than just no philosophy like that. Even in religion, I've looked into, you know, I'm not an expert in any real religion, but at the same time, I just basically kind of fumbled my way into Satanism, looking, you know, being intrigued by the occult and magic and horror movies, everything. Metal scene was an interest, you know, seeing, you know, I mean, I grew up kind of in the dawn or the shadow of the Satanic Panic, and when all this, you know, motley crews like Looks to Kill or whatever it is with the pentagram and, you know, all that shit. I was like, what the fuck is this about, you know? And then all the Satanic Panic ritual abuse things. So I went out and decided to read for myself, and it actually made a lot of sense. And you know what? I should probably close this fucking window. My neighbors don't need to hear this shit. Oh, should have done that a little bit ago. All right. Well, from there, you know, I just continued to read and to educate myself, primarily with LaVeyan Satanism. So I read the Satanic Bible when I was 14-ish, maybe even as young as 13, somewhere in that era. And I just started to get a hold on all of LaVeyan's books. At the time, he was still releasing books. Before his death, I think he knew his death was coming. And like a big flood of books, The Devil's Notebook, Satan Speaks, his biography came out. The book, The Church of Satan, I think, came out. There was a big push just a few years before he died. I think he knew death was upon him, and I wanted to get, you know, everything out, published. He wanted to see it published. And, you know, I was so overwhelmed and impressed and enthusiastic about about Satanism, that I decided to join the Church of Satan in 1994, which was 3 years prior to LaVeyan's death. You know, but just like most of your other people that discover Satanism at a very young age, myself no exception. At first, it was kind of more of a rebellious thing. You know, I'd wear like upside down crosses and you know, carry around the Satanic Bible, and I was almost like the Jehovah's Witness of Satanism. You know, now that I'm older, it's rare that you see me with any sort of satanic bling bling, unless you count this, which, you know, I guess as an adult, you get a little older and you put the bling bling on yourself. But, you know, there is no upside down crosses or anything that really directly can label me to Satanism. It's just more people think creepy, whatever. Well, the Church of Satan radically changed in the late 90s, early 2000s. Partially, well, a lot of it had to do with Anton LaVey dying. There was a kind of a thumb administrative wrestling match at the time between LaVey's daughters, his fiance or his lover, whatever, and whatever. And Peter Gilmore found his way into the high priesthood. Kind of wasn't welcomed by all, especially a lot of the old school guys. And you know, to no real disrespect to Peter, he's an articulate guy. He's a smart guy. I think he lacks the testicular fortitude to be the high priest of the Church of Satan, which Anton LaVey not only created, but obviously had a lot more charisma, stuff like that. And then the internet came out, and I think that really hurt the Church of Satan. And I kind of, you know, I looked, those of us that were into Satanism before the internet, how do you meet other Satanists? The only real way was to either look at the guy wearing an upside down cross sitting on the school bus, which 95% of the time he had no idea what Satanism even was, or to join the Church of Satan. And I joined the Church of Satan. I met like 3 dudes, wasn't impressed. I kind of went silent and did my own thing for about 10 years. I continued my studies, got into like different, like Nietzsche, Wilhelm Reich is a big influence on me. Ayn Rand was, although I'm more of a Nietzschean type of guy. Freud, a lot of the old school psychoanalysts. Then this thing, you know, the internet as we know it today, I'm kind of a late bloomer. I didn't get on until like 2009. I mean, I had used the internet, but I didn't really, you know, it took a while for it to get to the point that it is now. And I stepped in a few years later, and first thing I did was started like really about Satanism, was like really watching YouTube videos of other Satanists. You know, in between getting drunk and watching videos about people like getting kicked in the nuts, I would, you know, start watching serious videos. And I thought to myself, like, wow, there's a lot of retarded Satanists out there who are making YouTube videos. I can do this better. And it took me about a year to kind of figure out how to do it. But when I figured out just, you know, how to present myself on YouTube, stuff like that, basically I was getting my internet feet wet. And that's a little weird at first. Like, you know, first guy that said, you know, fuck off, you suck my dick on YouTube. I was like, what? I will find you. You know, where now it's like, I don't even read my YouTube comments because most of them are about to say like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started making a shitload of YouTube videos. It got really popular. Today, the last time I checked, I'm at about 50,000 subscribers and about 40 million video views. Which last time I checked, unless there's somebody else out there, which I would most likely know of, more video views and subscribers than all Satanists on YouTube put together, including Peter Gilmore. So, you know, I'm kind of the voice of YouTube, or Satanism on YouTube, which has kind of got popular, but I also saw the limitations, the way YouTube is set up before Google+. It's hard to communicate on YouTube. It's kind of like an email, like, you know, private message, comments. And so I'm like, fuck this. I started looking around and I came into some forums and I was like, okay, this looks like a better platform. But then I saw the lack of like real social networking forums. And so I said, okay, let's do this. But I want to emphasize the social aspects, not just a forum, not just a Google blog or vlog or whatever. So I spent the first year, I had some serious growing pains. It took me a while to learn how to run a network.
For those who watching who don't know, sin is
sin. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you were pausing to think about it. SIN stands for Satanic International Network.
There we go.
Just put that into Google and you'll see there's tons of shit on there about it. It's just a social networking site for Satanists. It has forums, it has blogs, you can upload videos. It's kind of like set up. It's kind of as close to Facebook as you can get working with the software that we have. It's very user friendly. Has all the same features as Facebook, pretty much. At least all the good ones that actually work and people use. And it really took off, and it's become the largest social networking site for Satanists out there, and the fastest growing. I mean, there's a few forums that have been around a lot longer than Sen, like 15 years and shit. They technically have more users, but as far as the activity goes, I mean, although it's debatable, I'd say Sen currently is the most active. But if we're talking social networking sites, yeah, Sen blows all the rest of them away, and there's only a few that manage to actually still be around, and it's not because they're cool, it's because the guy keeps paying his bill, and so it sits there. And the YouTube thing took off. I caught the attention of newscasters. There's been several news things, both .com ones, both real newspapers. I was approached by Comedy Central and did a little comedy skit with the comedian Anthony Jeselnik on the Jeselnik Offensive Show. Had offers from the BBC, offers from other documentaries that I turned down because I didn't like the direction they were going. Been invited to the up and coming, it's called the Left Hand Path Conference. It's going to be April 8th through the 11th in Atlanta, Georgia in 2016. It's going to be probably the largest event for Left Hand Path practitioners in the history. And I want to take part in it. I was invited to be a presentationer. So that's what I'm going to do, is be a speaker. And we're basically going to be talking similar to what I'm talking about now, but a little bit more refined. And that's it, man. I've made a lot of good friends, a lot of people. I mean, and that's the thing. And the internet has kind of made satanic organizations kind of be almost irrelevant, because now it's like, yeah, you can go join the Church of Satan and you might meet a handful of Satanists, or you can join a network that already has thousands of people on it. It's so much easier, and it's free. Eventually, about a year ago, I started Satanic International Organization, which is separate from the network. It's actually a real organization. We have grottos, which I call chapters, because grotto is a little outdated, and that's what the Church of Satan used, and I didn't want to really call it a grotto. And those are all over the United States. We're going to launch that into Canada, to the UK, Australia, basically internationally. But I want to make sure that it's rock solid and work out the bugs while we only have 15 or 20 spread throughout the United States before I go global. I've seen people go global too fast and they can't even control what's in their backyard. I've seen that mistake. So, yeah, I've met really cool people. Some well-known names that I would have never fucking met if it wasn't for my reputation. I mean, I've met a lot of really cool people, but I've also made a lot of enemies for a variety of reasons. They think they can do it better. They don't like me. They're jealous or envious. They're butthurt. Who knows? I mean, it really varies with the individual. But yeah, and so that's my goal, is to keep the network going so we can all use it, communicate, function. I encourage people to meet up in real life, which is, some people are cool with just being more of a recluse. They don't want to get involved publicly, and other people are really about it, and it's been very successful. And people have met in my network. Relationships have been forged and broken. A good friend of mine, Euronymous, met Sarah Erythrin, I think is her YouTube name. Yeah, they got married, have a kid, and they met through my network. So the social aspects, like, that's pretty unique. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So
yeah, man.
I look forward to everything growing.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my perspective, I'm a new guy. I'm the new kid in the block. I was watching your videos for probably 6 months, man, before I sort of took the plunge. And I kind of lurked and had a look at Sin and had a look at a few of the other forums. And yeah, one Saturday I was watching and I thought, fuck it, I'll take the plunge, and joined up. And yeah, not regretted it since. It's I mean, I guess I can speak for most of the other users. It's the cool thing about Sin for me is it's judgment free. You know what I mean? There's no risk of you being absolutely flamed on the forum for being a new guy. People are going, like I mentioned it in one of my other videos, you know, prepare to be challenged, absolutely, on any kind of views that you have. But, you know, I looked at other internet forums, and it's just a flaming war, you know. It's an intimidating sort of place. And I don't get that sense from sin, you know. So yeah, that's my history as far as sin goes. But I mean, you mentioned upside down crosses. Do you see an upside down cross as a satanic symbol, or is it just a fuck you to Christianity?
I see it more as a fuck you to Christianity, but the funny part is it actually was a Christian symbol. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know. I just see it as a fuck you to Christianity. I mean, I don't think it's a sign of immaturity or just outright rebellion, but I really don't think that it has any real meaning other than, you know, fuck you Christianity, like we're inverted Christians or devil worshippers.
Right. Now, there's probably people watching among the 10 that are watching at the moment that you know, don't know that there are different, you know, different forms of Satanism, as it were. You know, if you know, do you feel like outlining those? And
Well, I mean, there's probably as many different variations of Satanism as there is, say, Christianity, different splinter groups. You know, I mean, I come from the atheistic school of thought where Satan is a symbolic figure, and it's about indulgence. It's about, you know, making one's own God and taking responsibility for your actions and realizing that there is no afterlife and to make the best of the here and now. There are theistic Satanists, and then there's traditional Satanists, there's spiritual Satanists, and the list goes on and on. And the broader the list goes, the less I care about actually understanding all of them thoroughly, because the more I look into it, the stupider it just seems to get. And then there's theistic Satanists who actually believe the devil's real, but possibly misunderstood. He's actually a good guy. Luciferians, who are very similar to atheistic Satanists, although some will use Lucifer as the light bearer, the enlightened one, as a source of wisdom and knowledge and strength. Others will actually think he's like the rebel fallen angel and he actually really exists. And then there's traditional Satanists and spiritual Satanists, and to tell you the truth, I don't see a whole lot of difference between the two. I know they will argue about the differences, whereas I could give like about this much fuck, because to me, I could give a fuck about. So, I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on and on. And when I say I traditionally or originally came from the atheistic school of Satanism, I am open to the possibility, after speaking to hundreds, if not thousands, of other Satanists and getting a different perspective other than LeVay's, I am more open to the possibility that there's something out there. I don't think it's a god or a devil. I don't even think it's really conscious deity of any sorts, but I do believe, well, and even if it is, which I highly doubt, it clearly doesn't give a fuck about us. Yeah, it clearly, like this kid that lit the match and threw it into the fucking, you know, dry blazes, you know, the grass fields, and just walked away and said, fuck it, let's see what happens, and sits back and laughs. Well, to me, it's irrelevant. But yeah, let me ask you this, Mike. How did you first get into Satanism? Was it through the metal scene, like a lot of people?
Yeah. For me, my path to Satanism was, I mean, if you want to boil it right back, man, like it started with Guns N' Roses, you know, because Guns N' Roses led me to Metallica, and Metallica led me to Slayer, and then Slayer led me to a band called Death, and then Death, you know, Metallica led me, or Slayer led me to the whole death metal scene, and I'm talking, you know, I started listening to Metallica in 86, 87, and then the death metal kind of hit New Zealand in, I don't know, 1991, 92 maybe. 92 is probably a bit late. But yeah, it was definitely through metal, you know. They were using, you know, not like definitely through death metal. Not so much death, but bands like Morbid Angel, Deicide, and they were using terms like Amon and Cthulhu, and I'm naturally curious. I wanted to know what these terms meant. I was born and raised in a Baptist Pentecostal household. Church 3 times a week, twice on Sundays, and whatnot. So I had a natural curiosity for words. I had a natural curiosity for names of things, and I wanted to know what these names meant. So that kind of, and this again, like you say, was way before the internet. Long before the internet became to New Zealand, for one, and longer before I got onto the internet. So I bought the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals at a record slash bookstore that a friend of mine ran, Alistair. And yeah, took the Bible home. I was kind of like the whole LaVey thing. At that point in time, I mean, I was a young, rebellious metalhead speed freak. I knew who LaVey was, and I really had to work on reading that book. I really had to kind of force myself, because I just had the mindset that, dude, that happened in the 60s, man. They're just bald hippie, isn't he? You know what I mean? That was kind of my vision of LaVey. And I read the book and agreed with a lot of it, but there was so much going on at that time, in the New Zealand metal scene that I was a big part of, So I'm a musician. I was a musician first, and then music led me to Satanism. So the Satanism kind of took a backseat. I mean, I called myself a Satanist for years and years and years and years without really knowing why. I thought, well, I've read the books. I read those 2 books. I'm a Satanist now, and I agree with them, and I did. I had a firm agreement with LaVey's philosophy, but it wasn't until I sort of ran across your videos, like maybe 18 months ago, a year ago, or whatever, that I really started researching and looking into certain aspects of it, and trying to trying to sort of pin down what LaVey was saying. I kind of see, at this point, I kind of see LaVey as, or the Bible, the Satanic Bible, as a bit of a sampler. It's quite a broad range. There's little bits of here and there, and there's so much more that needs to be read into what LaVey said than specifically what he said, and what he philosophized. So, I mean, yeah, it was essentially through music, but which kind of brings up, another sort of topic, which, you being around before the whole metal, before the metal influx into Satanism, how did that affect like Satanism on the ground, as it were, in America for you?
Well, you had mentioned LaVey as being a little outdated because it's some guy back in the 60s, as you said. And honestly, I'm not going to upset a lot of LaVeyan Satanists. He is. This is not 1969 when he releases Satanic Bible. Like what, 57 years later, something like that. It whatever it is. Yeah, and it's just it's Satanism, as any religion does, if they want to evolve. Although I really don't consider Satanism a religion. If it wants to evolve, it needs to evolve with the time. If it wants to stay afloat, and the Church of Satan doesn't want to do that. And yeah, a lot of LaVey's stuff is outdated, and I don't agree with necessarily what a lot of what LaVey says. Partially because it's outdated, partially because it's not practical. And now that we have the internet, LaVey in the Church of Satan, he was a cult of personality. I mean, that the Church of Satan was Anton LaVey. I mean, don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong, that's not to take away from the other people that participated and added to it, but the lack of media at, throughout most of LaVey's career with the Church of Satan, the exposure was limited to pretty much LaVey, with a few exceptions. But now with the internet, and there's pros and cons, but now with the internet, there's a lot of other people with a lot of other opinions that you would have never fucking heard about. And I think that's a great thing. And people are like, that's a bad thing. It's like, no, it's not. And that's how Satanism should be. Satanism should be about stratification. Let's put it to the test. Let's test our metal. Let the best version, win. Let it win out.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a good point with LaVey being outdated. I tend to agree. There's just so much more out there, and I think the beauty of Satanism is the fact that it can evolve, and we as practitioners are willing to allow it to evolve. I mean, when I say we, I definitely don't speak for all Satanists. I think you and I and the people that we associate with, we really allow it to evolve, and I think that's really, really important. And I think it's the beauty of it. That's the great thing, I mean, mindsets change, as you grow older, as we all know, mindsets change. So I think a philosophy, if you're going to follow a certain philosophy, needs to be able to change with the practitioner, not just the times, but I think each individual practitioner needs the freedom to be able to adapt and mold his philosophy into what works for him at the time.
Let me ask you this, Mike, because I have to wrap this up in about another 5 to 10 minutes. Is there anybody? I can't see the chat comments. Is there anybody going on in the chats that we can hit? And then I know we got cut short by tech issues. We can just put this as part 1. And we'll set up another time to continue, because we're actually just really getting into some good shit.
Yeah.
Some technical issues are going to make this short, and I don't have time to resolve them.
No worries, man. No worries. I mean, if there's anyone out there that wants to throw out a question, or for Zach or I, or Jose Gonzalez seems to have one. What do Satanists really believe? The first video I saw where I saw Zach and I understood more Satanism. So yeah, I guess he's asking what we actually believe, which is that's a big question, and that's I think the answer to that is a debate in itself.
Yeah, and I know which video he's talking about. That was one of the very first videos, if not the first video that I ever made about Satanism. And it's also probably that's probably my most famous video, excluding the drug ones, which got millions of views, but that I'm actually talking about Satanism. That's probably the most popular. I think it has over like 200,000 hits. I don't remember anymore. I stopped checking a while ago, but yeah, but even I look back at that video now and it's like, wow, I don't even agree with myself anymore. Because there was so much I didn't know, or so much I didn't even ponder, take into consideration, because I'm pretty much talking as LaVey and Satanist in that video, and that's what I was at the time I made it. So it's cool to look back on your old shit and be like, wow, my perspective is quite radically different at this point. It's not that I'm like embarrassed, because I'm not, and I hold a lot of what I've said to truth, in my heart, and I still do. There's some of it I would have let go. In hindsight, it's always 20/20. I can look back at the video and be like, oh, fucking look at my stupid haircut, or oh, fuck, I said that? Fuck. I mean, but, it's all about one take, man, and I like your videos, man, because I can tell that you don't edit them, or if you do edit them, they're seamless. They're not, like, chopped to shit. There's no, like, hanky-danky music introduction. Oh, yeah, my boss. If I start to hear that shit, I turn that shit off. Like, fuck, I don't even want to watch this shit. But then you see a lot of other videos by Satanists who just fucking facepalm themselves by dressing these black robes and big fucking giant Baphomets with like, "Hail Satan," and then you hear like a couple people and a goat in the background. Hail Satan! And it's like, like, don't you see how stupid you look? You know, taking it backwards in Georgia, Brotherhood of Satan. You know, I'm just like, wow. And then the people posing, oh, all dark and gloomy, and it's like holding mystical orbs.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, get the fuck out of here, man. You know, and that's honestly, I think that's the main reason why I got more subscribers than everybody put together. Is because I make a video like this. I rarely edit my videos unless it's specifically needed to. It's usually for other people, not me. You know, you sit here, you fucking make a few drunk videos where you're just like repeating yourself, and clearly you're fucking wasted. And now that I'm not really, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that everybody has to be drunk and, you know, recreationally drug experience like myself, but yeah, as people, you know, you keep it real, you keep it to the point, you don't get too long-winded. Yeah, but if that's the only comment, let's wrap this up, man, and let's call this part 1, and we'll do a part 2 at a previous date. But I would like to say that I did have confirmation. I'll tell you this: Brian Werner from Vital Remains, the singer of Vital Remains, a friend of mine, and he wants to do a show with Mike, myself, and Brian from Vital Remains, the singer. He wants to do a show, and he's saying tomorrow. So I don't have the exact time yet, but that's going to be a really big show. And
That's really cool.
we're not sure exactly if it's going to be on Google Plus, if it's going to be. I use Skype, but I'm not. Those details I don't have. And I'm saying, look forward to some good shit.
Yeah, man. Just on just before you go, Zach, on what you said with the dudes in the big black robes and the orbs and living out in the backwoods of South Georgia, I think guys like that, not only do they look stupid and make themselves look stupid, and kind of it's bad advertisement for Satanism, you know, but it also makes Satanism inaccessible to dudes that aren't into the theatrics of it, you know. I think, you know, I think as far as, because I mean, what we do, you and I, by making videos, is we're basically advertising, you know. You know, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. But yeah, you know, I think the philosophy itself needs to be more accessible. It needs to be better understood, and for it to be better understood, we need people like you and myself, and just average Joes, you know, and talking about it in average language. You know what I mean? Not using enormous $50 words that have got more letters than fucking the alphabet. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there just before we wrap it up.
Sure. And one thing I want to throw in there before I wrap it up, because I know this is being hosted or being broadcast live, and I'm sure there are some of my detractors that are watching this. No, I want them to know that you can talk all this shit on YouTube about me in my video comments. I just don't fucking read comments because there's too fucking many of them for me to actually keep up. I mean, I would have to basically live on YouTube to keep up on the fucking comments of 700 fucking videos. I can't do it. I just, so if you're really a detractor and you want to get a piece of me, by all means, there's other formats to do it, and there's nobody that I won't step up to the plate with in a format like this and do a one-on-one interview with. YouTube is a troll playground. I mean, it's just infested. It's like a house that's like 200 years made of like pine. If that thing is still living, every piece in the fucking foundation is filled with termites. It's just like, so yeah, I just want to throw that out. Mike, it was good talking to you, man, and we'll do it again. We'll actually probably do it several times again, but yeah, let's consider this part 1. Look, part 2 will be announced, and we'll try to give everybody a little bit more notice for part 2. It's hard because of the time difference between Mike and I to coordinate shit. And him being like almost like 17 hours ahead of me or something that's like not even like it's day, it's night. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
right.
I appreciate you taking the time, man. And yeah, thanks for everyone to watch. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to all the questions because there are a bunch actually, which is really cool. Thanks to everyone for watching, and thank you, Kat, especially for getting up. Kat set her alarm. It's like fucking 4 o'clock in the morning over there for her. She went to bed, set an alarm, got up to watch this, and dude, that's you know, over and above for me. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Kat.
That is epic. That is epic. But I will say that, you know, she's also half our age. When you get old, you don't do that shit anymore. But no, anyway. But we can always continue this conversation in the tiny chat that we use. So if you want to drop the link in the room, Mike, if you can,
absolutely
drop that, because I just gotta take off for a little bit, but I'll be back in. This is like this format is not working for me very well. The tiny chat, that doesn't work very well either. But for some reason, it's okay right now, and we can all continue this tiny chat conversation.
Absolutely, man. And again, I appreciate your time. I'll throw out some links to Sin and the tiny chat and everything involved. And yeah, we'll definitely do this again at some point in the very near future.
All right, Mike, take it easy.
Awesome, dude. Thank you, man. Okay, so that was Zach Black. Cool. There is a delay on the YouTube feed and my feed here. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and I'm so sorry I couldn't get to everyone's questions. Zach obviously had to split out for a bit, but yeah, I'll throw some links when I figure this out. When I can get a comment section, I'll throw links to everything involved. And cool, dudes, we will see you no doubt in tiny chat, but we will see the people that don't use Sin tiny chat again, yeah, at a to be announced time and date. But thank you for watching, everyone, and we will see you again at another day.